Welcome to the Randy and Christa show. I'm Christa Orecchio. Randy Alvarez is out today. Our topic today is talking about food quality, and with us is my friend Jonathan Bailor, who's a New York Times best-selling author. He wrote this book, The Calorie Myth, and I love how Jonathan really talks about the quality of calories, and it's not about eating less to become healthier. And so we still have to bust this myth, don't we, Jonathan, that is just out there from the 50s. So tell me a little bit about the calorie myth, and welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Christa. You're exactly right. This myth has been so diabolical. It's created a country where we fear food and we see food as a bad thing. And in reality, you and I both know that the right kinds of food is the most affordable and sustainable treatment for obesity and diabetes in the world. And this has happened because we've stopped thinking about food and focused instead on calories. And now we have healthy 100-calorie snack packs, which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is. And that's why you wrote The Calorie Myth, right? Tell me about your book.
So the calorie myth is based on over 15 years of really geeky, boring scientific research with top doctors from all around the world, such as the Harvard Medical School, Johns Hopkins, and UCLA, to uncover the fact that just like we've seen radical advancements in every other area of our lives, for example, computers used to be the size of houses, now they can fit in human cells. The idea that we finished everything that we needed to know about eating and exercise back in the 50s when we just said eat less and exercise more and count calories is absurd. There's been as much progress when it comes to eating and exercise as there has been in every other area of our lives, but we haven't had access to that science in an understandable way until now, and that's what the book tries to do.
Yeah, and so tell me more about the book and the action plan that you lay out. How do you bust this myth that, I find as a nutritionist in my practice that people still are afraid of fat, and
Yep.
How do you bust that myth and make people feel comfortable eating real food, quality food?
I think we need to reset our paradigm completely. The reason it's so hard to let go of eat less and exercise more and calorie counting is because it's intuitive. The challenge is it's wrong. So for example, the flat earth theory, that is intuitive. If you look out your window, in most parts of the country, it really looks like the earth is flat, but it's not once you understand science. So we need to help people understand that there is an alternative model. And that alternative model is instead of your body working like a math equation, your body works to balance itself out. It's not broken by default, it's smart by default. For example, isn't it amazing how when you drink more water, you don't need to think about it, you just go to the bathroom more? Or isn't it amazing that you don't have any idea how much vitamin C you're taking in or excreting out, but somehow your body regulates that for you? Or what about your blood pressure? So we know intuitively that our bodies work to balance us out. This is called homeostasis. We all learned about it in high school, but we just need to take that same learning and apply it to energy balance so that we see that really it's our body that's in control. And if we fuel it with the proper quality of foods, it will balance calories for us automatically.
I couldn't agree more. And you used the word a few minutes ago, intuitive. And if we can get out of the way, I think we started to maybe not trust the body. And that's why we started counting calories. If you give the body what it needs, this is my philosophy, and I know you agree with me, you take away what it doesn't need, it will heal itself or create balance, which is our natural state. So what about that whole emotional piece of learning to trust the body again, that you don't need to count calories, but you'll hit that satiation factor, you'll start to crave the foods that work for you, and then it doesn't have to be so hard.
Christa, you hit the nail on the head. The most common cause of death in fairly recent history, about 100 years ago, was this term we don't hear about anymore called natural causes, where people didn't used to die of disease. Disease is not an inevitable thing. Our body doesn't want to be obese any more than it wants to have cancer or wants to become diabetic. Everything about our heritage optimizes our biology to say live and live in a robust way so that your genes can carry on throughout the generations. So you're exactly right that if we get out of this broken by default mindset that the media has put upon us, frankly, because it's incredibly profitable. If you can tell someone they're inadequate and broken, you can sell them a huge amount of products and services to try to fix them. But if we can help people understand that they're beautiful by default and that they're not doomed to disease themselves if they eat the right quality of food, the food that we ate prior to the obesity in diabetes epidemics, then slim becomes really, really simple.
Yeah, I love that. It's really well said in that it's not playing to someone's holes or insecurities, but to their sense of empowerment for if we do take accountability and responsibility for what we consume and how we consume, and that goes way beyond food, that we can live a healthy, vibrant life.
And we know that's how oh, sorry, Krista, go ahead.
No, I want to hear it, please.
I was just going to say, we know the body works that way. If we just remind ourselves, for example, if we break our ankle, all you need to do is not get in your body's way. For example, put your ankle in a cast, stop walking on it, and your body will heal itself. That's the only way the body heals, is by healing itself. Medication treats symptoms. If you want to heal, the body's got to do that on its own. You just need to empower it to do so.
Okay, good. You know, if Randy were here today, I know he would want this to be appropriate to all of our viewers. And I know we have a lot of calorie counters out there. There's lots of people watching who have probably, used Weight Watchers for years. And so what's your best advice to someone who has that real fear and phobia of, if I stop counting calories, I will gain weight? And I've had clients who are just deathly afraid to throw away the counting.
If at all possible, imagine a struggle with weight, a bit like an individual who's maybe had a traumatic experience happen in their life, and they're facing a little bit of depression. So instead of us talking about an issue with the body, we're talking about an issue with the mind. And imagine that individual who's suffering with depression going into a psychiatrist's office, and the psychiatrist looking at them and saying, let's say the person's name is Mary, saying, Mary, you know what your problem is? You need to frown less and smile more. Because if you would just frown less and smile more, I mean, the people who aren't depressed seem to frown a heck of a lot less than you do, and they seem to smile a hell of a lot more than you do. So that's your problem. It's silly, right? An individual doesn't become depressed because they're frowning too much and smiling too infrequently. There's something deeper going on. And if we're struggling with our weight, what the modern science shows quite clearly is there's things going on in our brain, in our hormones, as well as in our gut that we need to heal. Restricting calories will never heal anything. It's like putting less water into a clogged sink to clear the clog. You can't unclog your sink by just putting less water in it. So again, really think about, I guess you could just stop washing your hands, and that's one way to deal with your clogged sink, but why do that? Why not fix the underlying clog? And that's what high quality food can do.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, that most of these issues are rooted in the digestive system or in the endocrine system. And so really, this is why I know you and I both really believe in the merit of functional medicine. So what's the takeaway? I know now, New York Times best-selling book, The Calorie Myth. Are you getting stories coming in from people who were calorie counters and now they're not, and through the methodology in this book, they're freed from that? Let's hear some success stories.
It was incredibly heartwarming. And one of the things that I like most about the modern metabolic science is it's not about picking sides or following certain restrictive diet approaches. What I talk about in the book is high quality foods, high quality calories. And we define these as foods that have high satiety. They fill you up quickly, keep you full for a long time, low aggression, meaning they don't cause a bunch of hormonal chaos. They're high in essential nutrients like vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids. And they're inefficient, meaning they're not easily stored as body fat. We call these SANE foods. SANE is the acronym. And now you can be a SANE vegan, you could be a SANE vegetarian, you could be SANE paleo, you could be SANE low carb. And what's beautiful about this is it takes your existing lifestyle and it just says, here's how to take your existing lifestyle and make it as high quality as possible. And this allows any lifestyle to become more sane. For example, one of my favorite success stories, to answer your question specifically, is from a vegetarian who, instead of getting the vast majority of her calories from starches and sweets, which are plant-based, she switched to getting them from high-quality plants. And in a matter of months, she actually went off her diabetes medication entirely, lost 45 pounds, and then a few months later, after 8 years of trying, was finally able to conceive a child.
That is the stuff that changes lives in a major way for the rest of their lives. It's a great success story, and I think that's why we're all doing what we're doing, is to help people live life to the fullest. I mean, having a child versus not is a major thing in life. That's awesome. And I love that you are, would you say you're dietary agnostic then? You don't focus on just any one way of eating.
It's all about the quality of what you're doing. So there's no perfect diet for any person, but there is saying, what are the foods you prefer? What are the foods that are available to you? And of that set, what are the ones that frankly provide you with the most of what you need and what science has proven you need: vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, as well as just feeling good, and the least of what you don't need: toxic and addictive things like trans fats and MSG and just nonsense like that. So just so much good and less bad. It's the common sense diet. Let's call it that.
It is. I agree that it's common sense, but it's also, it's not so easy these days to find real food. Like, let's say chicken or whatever looks like real food, it may not be real food based upon how the animal was raised. And so what's your advice? We have viewers nationwide, and what's your advice to people eating out? Because convenience is a big thing that compromises the quality food movement.
The biggest thing for me that I've found that helps me is when I'm eating out, step number one is to tell your server, whenever possible, to hold the starch and double the vegetables. Just really going out of your way to try to consume more vegetables. There's very few areas of the country where you just can't find any form of vegetable. And it's really easy to get mired in all kinds of complexity and macronutrient breakdowns and yada, yada, yada. I tell everyone, until you're at double-digit servings of non-starchy vegetables per day, and these are vegetables you could eat raw. You don't have to eat them raw, but you could eat them raw. Think green leafy vegetables, carrots, cucumbers, asparagus, broccoli, mushrooms. If you can really just focus on dialing up the amount of greens you're taking in. Like Kermit said, it's not easy being green, but if you can focus on that and get that right, not only will you heal your body with an abundance of nutrition, but you'll crowd out all the other garbage.
Yeah, I love that. I talk about the overcrowding theory as well. Add the good stuff in, the bad stuff falls away. Now, you know you're going to blow some of our viewers' minds. You just said double-digit vegetables, so 10 servings of vegetables a day is your recommendation?
At least, yes. And that sounds like a lot, but most people don't realize, for example, that a carrot, one carrot, is a serving of vegetables. So a lot of people in one sitting can easily consume 3 to 4 servings of non-starchy vegetables. And again, just eat that instead of starch. You don't need rolls and filler when you eat an abundance of vegetables. You'll accidentally do it if you put your mind to it.
Okay, thank you for defining that. So Jonathan, what's the takeaway? I mean, I know our viewers can find your book at caloriemyththebook.com and learn so much more. But what do you want to leave us with today?
If I had to leave you with one thing, it would be to not fear food. And that's what we've been told to do over the past 40 years. We've been told to do math at the dinner table, which is ludicrous. Food, the right kinds of food, improving the quality of your eating is your only, literally your only path to long-term health, because starvation is not healthy and it's no way to live and it's not sustainable. So at the end of the day, remember with all your heart, maximize food quality rather than fiddling with calorie quantity.
That is a great takeaway. You are creating freedom for all of us around food, and thank you for doing that. It's caloriemyththebook.com. You've been awesome, Jonathan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to Jonathan. He's always interesting and so passionate. And so if you are or have been a calorie counter and you're really looking to let that mindset go so you can have freedom around food, I highly suggest picking up The Calorie Myth. It's a great book and it's easy to read, and it will help you free you of that mindset and give you a really easy action plan about how to make that happen. So thanks for being here. This is News That Makes You Healthier, and we'll see you next time.